All right, welcome back. So now let's get into the last section of this. All right, welcome back. So now let's get into the last section of this chapter, which is going to be the process video for solving rational equations. And again, you can see here, I have kind of like a little step-by-step guide for you to kind of follow or always to reach back to in case you kind of get stuck on any problems that you're working through throughout this course. But basically, what we kind of discovered in the introduction as well as through the notes is we want to get rid of the fractions. We don't want to be dealing with fractions when we're trying to solve equations. So therefore, the first step that I'm always going to want to do is to multiply by the LCD to eliminate the fractions. Now, for some problems, we're going to want to simplify them. And you can see in this first example, to identify the LCD, I'm going to want to factor all of my denominators. And in this case, you can see my denominator, that can be factored into, let's see, what, an x minus 6 times an x plus 2. And again, kind of like a little tip here, if you have two other denominators, typically one or both of them are going to be included in your other denominator. So in this case, I can identify my LCD to be x minus 6 times x plus 2. All right. And then again, to get rid of all these denominators, I'm just going to multiply everything times that LCD. All right, so here the x minus 6's will divide out. So that'll be leaving me with an x times, or 2 times x plus 2. Plus here the x plus 2's will divide out, leave me with a 7 times x minus 6. And then here both denominators would divide out, leave me with a 4x plus 2. Now you can see I have a linear equation, so I should expect to see one solution. So I'll go ahead and apply some distributive property. So a 2x plus 4 plus a 7x, that's a minus 6, right? So that'd be a minus 42 equals 4x plus 2. Combine my like terms here. Let's see, that's going to be 11x minus 38 equals 4x plus 2. Let's see, we could subtract a 4x on both sides. You can add a 38 on both sides. And therefore that becomes a 15x is going to equal, what, 40? And then divide by 15. Divide by 15. I don't think I remember that answer, though. Oh, I got a 5. I got a 9x. What did I? 2x plus 4, 7x. That is a 9x. Looks like I'm going a little too fast there. So yes, that is a 2x plus 7x is going to be a 9x. Minus 4 is just going to be a 5x. All right, so then I'll divide by 5 on both sides, and you can see x is going to equal 9. Now again, that is our one solution, right? But that is the solution to our simplified equation. So we just want to make sure that we go back and plug it into our original equation to make sure it does not make any of the denominators equal to 0, which in this case it does not. So therefore, that is our solution. All right, in the next example, same idea. We recognize something we can factor, so let's go and factor that out, x plus 2. Okay, so again, and no other point you could also look at this is when you're looking ahead, like you could also think about I actually forgot to make this connection from our previous chapters in the introduction of this video, that you can think about the excluded values, right? When we're dealing with the simplified equations, we looked at the excluded values, like what are the values that make your denominator equal to 0? Well, if your solution is one of those excluded values, you know that the answer is going to be extraneous. Like right here, I simplify this, I automatically think now that my excluded values are 0 and negative 2. So when I go to solve this, if I get 0 or negative 2 as a solution, I know that is going to be extraneous. So here you can see that both these denominators share the x. So that's okay. So now I'm just going to multiply by x times x plus 2, right? Because that is the LCD. X times x plus 2. Okay, so again, you're going to multiply everything times x plus 2. So here you just multiply by 1, so that's going to be a x. Now, let's actually multiply this out. I left it factored so you could see what things get divided out. But I'll just write this as a simplified form, x squared plus 2x. That's going to equal to 1. And then plus the only thing here that gets divided out is the x's. So you'd be left with an x minus 1 times x plus 2. Okay, that's going to be a little FOIL or distributive property. So, and then let's kind of get the x's all to the same side. Well, let's actually just simplify here. So x plus 2x equals 1 plus, let's see, what would this be? X squared minus x plus 2x. So 2 times x, so 2x negative x, so that's going to be plus an x minus 2. Okay, so now what happens when I subtract the x squareds on both sides? They go to 0. When I subtract a 2x on both sides. That's going to become a negative x. So I'll be left with, actually, we don't need to do that. Let's just kind of see what we get here. Let's just get rid of the x's here. So we have 2x equals 1 minus 2 is going to be a negative 1. So that's going to be x minus 1. Cool. So now I can just subtract an x, and I get x equals negative 1. Well, there we go. Right? And again, you can see it was a quadratic, right? But what happened to that quadratic is those got added to 0. So therefore, in this case, even though it was a quadratic, we only have one real solution, which in this case is x equals negative 1. And again, we go and plug negative 1 back into our original equation. And as long as it doesn't make our denominator equal to 0, guys, we're looking good. All right. In the next example, again, you can see this factoring, guys. 2x squared minus 3 times 2x plus 3. Okay. Very common theme. So therefore, we're just going to multiply everything times this LCD, which is going to be a 2x minus 3 times a 2x plus 3. All right. And then again, the 2x plus 3s will divide out. So we're going to be left with a 5 times 2x minus 3 plus a 4 times 2x plus 3 as the 2x minus 3s divide out. And then here we're going to be left with a 14x plus 3. All right. So again, we'll go ahead and apply some distributive property. In this case, we get a 10x minus 15 plus a 8x plus 12 equals a 14x plus 3. Combine like terms here. Let's see. Let's clean this up. I get an 18x minus 3. Negative 15 plus 12 is negative 3 equals a 14x plus 3. Add 3 to both sides. Let's see. Subtract a 14x. And let's see. That's going to be a 4x is equal to 6. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. X equals 3 halves. All right. Now, again, if we look at this, though, if you plug in 3 halves into this equation, notice that 2 times 3 halves minus 3 equals 0, right? 3 minus 3 equals 0. So that's a big problem, guys, because if you plug in your solution and it makes your denominator equal 0 of your original equation, right, then it's extraneous. So this is extraneous. And since there's only one solution, this is the only solution we have no solutions. Sometimes you can have two solutions. One's extraneous and one is going to be the solution. But in this case, we only had one solution. And since it was extraneous, then we're going to say the equation has no solutions. Here's, again, another example. Notice that how these two add up. So therefore, we can share the same. Okay, we're following the same process here. Everything happens again. Same process. X plus 3 times x plus 2. Here, we're just going to be left with 2 equals x plus 3's divide out, so 5 times x plus 2. And here, we're going to have to make sure we're careful with these x's. So that's going to be a negative x plus 2's divide out, so we'll be left with an x plus 3. Okay, so just be very careful now because we're going to distribute with this negative x. So we distribute here, 2 equals a 5x plus 10. And here we're going to have a negative x times x, which is a negative x squared, and a negative x times 3, which is going to be a negative 3x. All right. So again, this is now producing a quadratic, right? So we're going to be looking for two solutions here. Let's go ahead and set this equal to 0 and simplify this. So 0 equals a negative x squared. Let's see, 5x minus 3x is going to be a positive 2x. And then this is going to be plus 8. Now, if we factor out the negative, so you can factor out a negative in both cases because that's not going to, so that'd be x squared minus 2x minus 8. You can divide out that negative 1. So 0 equals a x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay. So now to satisfy, because again, the solutions, that's not going to matter for this. If we want to look at the factored form here, what two numbers multiply to give you negative 8, add to give you negative 4. That's going to be x minus 4 and x plus 2. Okay, so therefore x equals positive 4 and x equals negative 2. But again, we notice a problem here because if you plug in negative 2 back into the equation, that is going to be extraneous. However, for the number 4, that is not the same. So therefore, you can see that 4 is going to be the only solution that works in this equation. And that's basically it, guys. Besides simplifying each rational expression, simplifying, identifying the LCD, multiplying everything by the LCD, using your solving techniques, which is typically going to be inverse operations, factoring, or it could be quadratic formula, and then just going back and looking for your extraneous solutions. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for this section as well as for this chapter. Go ahead and get started into the online quizzes to check your understanding as well as look into the chapter tests. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Cheers.